Is this it? Is this finally it? Is this the Batman that I have waited for years and years and years to put on my shelf? I don't know, but I certainly hope so. So McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse put out a Batman, specifically Nightfall Batman, and for a very long time, what I considered to be the Batman that went on my shelf that I seemed to like and despise the most was the DC Classics Batman. I got one that looked like Nightfall Batman from DC Classics, and I'm going to be honest, I don't like DC Classics. I don't like the body molds, I don't like their size, I don't like how wide they are, I don't like a lot of the choices that were made in DC Classics. I just never really cared for it. I don't know if it's part of the torso, the way they bend, whatever it is, it was never my favorite. But it was the Batman I liked the most. Other Batmans that I have on the shelf are simply not this Batman. They're not the gray, blue with the oval, the guy that I like. This was the Batman I cared for the absolute most. Around, say, like, early 90s, 1993 era, the same time as this Catwoman, which is why she's actually part of the review as well. When I got him, I discovered something. I said, man, I need that Robin to go with him. Then I went and looked at that Robin and decided, no. And there's an entire episode, you could check that out on the channel here, where I talk about the fact that, to me, it looks like that Robin is wrong. It looks like that Robin is wrong. It's hard to explain it, but it just doesn't look right to me. And I need somebody to go with this Batman, and I found a Catwoman. And this Catwoman comes from the exact same time that I actually liked Catwoman as well. That's my favorite Catwoman. Nightfall era. Sometime in the early 90s, around 93 to like the beginning of 2000, somewhere in there is kind of my favorite Catwoman. And it's true for the Batman too. I loved the gray and blue and the oval. This is it, man. This is the Batman. And just, that's what I was growing up in. Nightfall is around the last time that I feel we were avoiding the cliche that I can't stand about Batman. I don't like that Batman is his own cliche. Because I'm Batman makes me physically sick. I hate that. I hate it. Batman is interesting because he is everything that you could hope to be if you push yourself and dedicate yourself completely to an idea. To be the best. Want to be the best boxer in the world? Okay, it is possible, but you're going to have to take the hits. You're going to have to put in time and power and dedication like nobody else before you. You think that Mike Tyson became one of the greatest boxers on the planet because he just woke up one day and just had some innate talent because he's Tyson? No. He earned that shit. Look up his work routine back when he was at his absolute peak. Look at how much dedication, time, study, and absolute pride he had towards the sport, and you will see what that dedication looks like. You'll see it. Batman is the same concept. Every moment of his time, every single living, waking moment of his time is to the idea of this. And yet, he is still a man dealing with situations that are far above him in a lot of cases, even when they're grounded in a more comic book reality. Like when he's dealing with somebody like the Joker. It's extreme. He can lose. He's just a dude. Absolute peak of his performance, but just a dude, and that can honestly lead to his failures. And oftentimes when you read something like Nightfall, which I feel is right before this cliche kicked in hard, this I'm Batman, get out of jail free card because Batman stuff. I feel like this was right before that really kicked in. Because around the time that he hit JLA in that run, I already see it happening. Where, like, he's the last man standing in the Justice League. Why? Because he's Batman. Not because the storyline actually makes sense 90% of the time, but because the plot armor allows him to be Batman. And they do that and run it into the ground at this point, to the point where I honestly almost don't even like the character anymore. I've gotten to the point where most Batman stuff I just ignore. It's not the era that I want. It's not the mistakes that I want. He doesn't make mistakes. He's an absolute perfect human being at this point, and he's beyond anything that any man could ever hope to accomplish or be. And it bothers me, because the explanation they always give for that is that because he's Batman. I hate that. I can't stand it. But this here, this is peak Batman. This is a Batman that falls, a Batman that fails, a Batman that learns, a Batman that's troubled, a Batman that can't just outmuscle every opponent he comes across, can't just outdance every opponent he comes across, can't outthink every opponent he comes across. He makes mistakes, he has problems, he gets tired, and his desire to control everything around him absolutely does him no favors. Because there's many, many times where he could have let certain things go or let Tim help him. And instead it was, I gotta do this. Blah, blah, blah. My way, my rules, my stuff. Shut up, Tim. And guess what? Tim was right. Tim was right. And that's the reason you ended up in the chair. That's the reason, Batman, that you ended up in the chair, is because you couldn't listen to anybody but you, and it bit you in the ass. That is peak Batman, though. Because that is the man who, and I've heard this said before, and it makes a lot of sense, Batman is not necessarily the guy that can beat up anybody. Batman is about getting back up. Unwilling to quit, no matter the damage or the trouble. And that's amazing, because those are some of the best peak Batman stories that you can tell, which is why, to this day, we are still talking about Nightfall. That's why. And why, to this day, people are still excited to see this Batman specifically show up. So, was I excited when McFarlane Toys said, hey, best Batman ever, go buy it? I put that shit on pre-order that day. The very day I heard that it was a thing at all, it was on my pre-order list. And now I have him. And the question is this the best Batman on my shelf? Or will it be? Does it deserve to even go on the shelf? I don't know. But we're about to find out. Alright, so like I said, this is an unboxing and first impressions of both of these. So first off, the windows that they run on the McFarlane Toys, they're fantastic. They really are. Now, I have yet to buy a single gold label of these. In fact, just to keep things straight, I don't have many of these, okay? The McFarlane Toys thing has been both wonderful and terrible at the same time for me. I've had good experiences and bad experiences. Case in point, that Batman looks fantastic. He does not pose well, and his leg is bent, and he doesn't stand right. So when I try to stand him upright, I had to get this walking pose to even make him work on the shelf. That has been an ongoing problem with McFarlane Toys. Oh, and case in point, to put that into another perspective, that's the other one that I currently have from the McFarlane lines, and from the DC Multiverse line. And as you can see, she leans backwards. Why? Because her ankles just will not cooperate. And then you do like that, and then she's kind of like leaning over like a hunchback of Notre Dame or whatever, and then her sword is really heavy, so it won't, like, and then she drops it, because it's like, and then her finger bent just now, because it won't, like, And now her finger is like in her hand. You see, and then her shield just fell off. So we got to like pull her finger back out so she's not like hurting her own finger. And then put the sword in her hand. But then the sword doesn't want to hold because she's not good. She's not good. She's one of the worst Wonder Woman characters. She's one of the worst Wonder Woman toys I have on my shelf. Is from the McFarlane Toys run. And like the shield is just awful. Like it doesn't want to work. I'm telling you, it's a problem. It's a legit problem. And did I just get it? And maybe I got it. I don't know. No, maybe I had it better the other way. You see? Do you see this? Why should it be this tough? There, that's the Wonder Woman shield. That's kind of cool. Look, when I first seen her, I was like, she looks cool. But she's been a legit problem every time I put her on the shelf, and every time I try to move her around and do something with her, it seems like she's resistant to me. It's been a real pain. I can't, like I said, I can't get her to really hold the sword, because the sword, it falls out of her hand. It's too heavy for her. It's too big. And we just lost the sword again. So, like, maybe I should just consider, like, having her like this, you know? No sword at all. Turn that around. Now, just lost her lasso. Let me go under the camera here for a second. Maybe you saw my head. I don't know. I'll know when I edit it. Yeah. Do you see? And if I leave her on the shelf, she tends to slowly lean back like this because the ankles can't support her waist. Can't support her weight. It's an issue. It's a real issue. That sword is too big. It's too ridiculous. This lasso doesn't actually clip on. It just kind of has to lay there, and you have to hope that it holds. The shield is a bit of a pain. She doesn't have anything to grab. She's got a good face. This isn't what we're here to talk about, but it is relevant because I want you to understand that so far, my experience with these McFarlane toys for the DC Multiverse line, it's been rough. To put it lightly, it's been rough. So, those are two of them that I've had on the shelf, that are still on the shelf. This is probably the fifth. He's probably the fifth one that I've bought. I bought her before he showed up. So that's 5 of them that I've had a chance to actually see. And as of yet, I have a Batman that looks really good. Okay? A Wonder Woman that looks good, but doesn't quite handle well. I had another character, which was a Green Lantern that was gifted to me that I don't even have anymore because it was just bad. And now these. My experience has not been great, is what I'm trying to tell you. So, I have yet to invest in one of these gold labels and see if that's better, if the quality has helped, but you get the idea. I've been up and down with these, so I am worried, but excited about this Batman. On the sides, because these windows are fantastic. I have to give that to them. They know what they're doing with their window displays, and it's worked out very well, and it's good for them. Batman, Catwoman, little side thing right there. I wouldn't advise that you store these things by the side. It would be kind of pointless if you were putting them on the shelf like that. Sure, maybe if you're selling them like that, but yeah. These are very good for inbox collectors, though, if you're just putting them up, and if they're basically just statues anyway, which that's something that's always kind of confused me. As you could tell, I'm an opener. People that just kind of buy these figures to like put up on the wall. I'll be honest, I've often been a little confused as to why they don't just spend the little bit of extra money and get really cool statues. But hey, we all collect differently, and now you get a small idea of why I open them up, is I like to pose them. I do like statues as well, though, however. I like statue busts, okay? I do. I found one, I thought she was cool, I bought her. It was that simple. No more than that. I have really big, fancy statues, little statues, a lot of action figures, models, and so on and so forth I collect around the board. and you can kind of get an idea for where I stand with certain things like this. I like to open the action figures. I like to pose them. I like to see their articulation. The back of the boxes here, I would have picked better art for Batman Knightfall. Without a doubt, I'd have picked better art. I think that you could have picked 1,000 better images for Batman Knightfall. I'm not 100% sure why you went with this. I really don't know. To represent what you were selling, there's this. This is such a terrific comic book run. You could have done so much better. That's not bad. Neither one of these boxes are sitting in my have to keep. These are very much the kind of figures that I will open up and they will be gone. But she got the better back in terms of this anyway. I personally think so anyhow. Okay, you know what? Let's open these guys up. Okay, so here they are. Now, first things first. Her. Again, these feet have no rock, okay? So they don't do that. They do this with the toes, and then they go up, and they go down. So if we even that out like this, and we even this one out like that, and they look like they're about flat, okay? They look like they're right. They look like they do fine. You put her down, let her go. She's standing. Now, I can see down here, as you can see, no stability. It's the heels. I get it. They wear heels in the actual, you know, comics and everything. And it is a part of the fantasy in general or whatever. So you kind of want her to be able to do that. Like make a movement, something like that, and be cat-like, and use maybe the other hand that she gets, because she gets a set of 2 hands. So she gets the gripping hands, and then she gets these, which are very much your claws, which are fine. They're cool. But as you can see, I'm going to play an absolute nightmare in terms of if I'm doing any kind of photography where I don't want to. I'm gonna have to be very careful about how I do this. Now she comes with a stand. They all come with a stand. So let me put her on that stand real quick and get her into a thing here. And then with the stand, you could tell that works a little bit better. And you can get away with some kind of action pose, some sort of movement thing, and you wouldn't really have a problem, and that's fine. This whip is long. Like, wow, okay? That's crazy how big this whip is. This thing is extraordinary. So let me get this into her hand real quick. Yeah, okay. It's a little tough, Let me move her thumb here. I know I'm off the frame right now. Okay. I got it in her hand, and it's made from a rubbery material, so it's not going to have the same problem as some of the other stuff. So you can, this thing is so long that let's wind it down in her other hand real quick. Not that we're actually going to expose that the other hand is holding it, but we're going to get it in her hand and kind of wind it down along and back, kind of like this. And now we have like a straight up, really cool, see that? That really, you could pull something like this off because that whip is just so long and so expressive. It's cool. That is legit cool. And if you have these hands done up the right way, maybe she can have one hand out and that back, and this might be something that I play with. She is cool. Her stability is low. Those heels do her no favors at all. She has very, very, very limited bad stability. She needs that stand desperately. Also, her legs have a complete split here, which is very solid. Her arms seem to be doing her decent. That's no issue. This part of her body, though, is incredibly limiting. Like, she has very little to no real movement in her torso. I mean, it's there, but you're going to have to play with it, is what I'm telling you. But otherwise, she's solid for what she is. This is kind of what I expected when I picked her up, was she would kind of be something like this. And she doesn't necessarily disappoint, even if I could call a bunch of stuff out on her. See, like you see, I got this lean right here that I'm trying to fight with here in real time. And there we go. I kind of got it. Now she's pretty much set up the way that I would want. I would probably put this hand on her right here so that it would be like more expressive. And there, she's pretty solid. She'll go on the shelf. She'll be pretty cool. Don't hate the Catwoman. The Catwoman is solid for what it is. Now the Batman. He stands. That's a plus right off the bat. He has stability. He stands, okay? This knee seems a little turned in compared to the other one. But like I said, I've been noticing this on every single one of these figures I buy from McFarlane. For some reason, I don't know if it's the plastic or what is going on, but they've all been like heat moved, I guess, is the only way I can tell you, where you kind of like the same thing you do with a model or a statue like that's done in plastic, where you heat it up and you kind of bend it till it stands up straight or whatever. If it shows up and it's kind of leaning, you kind of do that process. That's what it always feels like with all these characters that I get. The cape is solid, which is going to be both a good thing and a bad thing for photography purposes, because this cape, it's not going to want to go or do anything for you. It just wants to lay there, and that's what it wants to do. And so certain poses are going to be hard to get away with, but it works. And I can understand the idea of going for that cape rather than going for soft goods. I can kind of get behind why he does that in certain ideas. I really can. I can understand it for what it's worth. So we got the dual knee here, so he cannot kick his own butt, but we got it. And of course we got a nice ankle movement here, and we got the good foot. They don't rock. There's no rock on these figures. He has a straight up, basically, splits. The arm is nice and open and loose, and you have this new area, which I didn't see on some of the earlier figures from this line, but this right here seems to be really good. So he has in movement, out movement, sway movement, and everything like that. And we got the bicep movement right here, which is really nice. He's got the dual elbow, so he can literally punch himself right in his own face. He can just punch his own face. Dap! If he really wanted to. Bam! That's cool. I like that. The gloves are solid. The wrists only do that. They won't go out and in, but that's okay. He has punchy hands. He has grippy hands. The grippy hands come with a batarang, but I feel like it's pointless. And the reason I'm going to tell you that I feel like it's pointless is because so far, in my opinion, in the stuff that I've done with these, like, in fact, the last one that I got from this line, the last Batman, he came with a grapple gun and a couple batarangs, and he can't really hold them. I mean, he can, but he can't. It's not worth the hassle of, like, losing the batarang on your shelf or whatever, because, like, of course, like, I mean, yeah, okay. It's not great, is what I'm saying. Now, you just watched it in real time. I wasn't doing anything, but his stability, once again, with that knee, like I said, there's a knee that's slightly curved in, and he's giving me problems. His torso has, I mean, he's got some back movement that way and that way. So his ab crunch is solid, but his torso crunch is very, very, very low. It's not very good. Otherwise, though, he probably moves the best out of a lot of them that I've seen from this line. So can he get down onto his knee or whatever? Kind of. It's not great, but he can kind of do it. He can, of course, throw a side kick. So if you want to get that kick in, you can kind of get that, whoa, bow! And he's got that full kick motion there, so you can get those kind of good lifts and everything. So you can do that. You could do jumping and stuff like that where he's coming down. So that all stuff looks really good. So there's many action poses you're going to be able to pull off. And he's stable enough, even though mine is a little funny, because I swear to you the knee is a little funny. I feel like I could be imagining part of it. He's stable. He is stable. He's more stable than the other Batman that I have. Because the other Batman that I have doesn't stand up. He won't do it. He will not stand up. That Christian Bale Batman that I got, he won't do it. His leg is too curved in, and I haven't gone through the trouble of trying to put it in hot water and like fix it, bend it back into place and get it where I want it. And that leg makes it so the only thing I could do is like this one walking pose, and he absolutely needs the stand or he will not stand up properly. He will not do it. I didn't mess with her head too much. Her head does move. Just to put that out there, like she has a decent enough head range motion. She can't really look up. She can kind of look down. But yeah, he, on the other hand, there's really nothing in his way. He can look left, right. He can look kind of down. He doesn't really have much of a down. But he can look up like, oh no, where he sees the Joker and then his belt goes whoop and it falls down a little bit because, if you know what I'm referencing, you know what I'm referencing. But yeah. Okay. He's good. He is good. When it comes right down to it, he's a solid figure. He does have stability. I could make references and things like that and be like, oh, he doesn't want to stand up. But there, in real time, made him stand up. Very little trouble. In real time, while we were sitting here, I made her stand up. That's good. I say... You can mess with her long enough to get her to stand up with those heels. Her body is balanced weight-wise enough that you can do it. But for her, I'm going to tell you, use the stand. They gave you a stand for a reason. You need it with her. I really feel like you need it with her. Comparison of the two side by side is very good. Although... I feel like if Catwoman is standing up, she's exactly the same size as Batman. Is that right? Is that right? Shouldn't she be a little bit shorter than him? I'm not sure by how much. I don't feel like she's a whole head shorter than him or something like that. Because I feel like in panels where they kiss, he does kind of lean down a little bit and she does kind of move up a little bit. And so I feel like she's shorter than he is. But, hey, for how they look on the shelf together, I'm really not complaining. I'm not. Don't misunderstand that at all. I'm just kind of pointing little things out that I notice. His paint job is spectacular. That is the Batman that I want. That's the white eyes. He's got that super strong chin. He's got that oval exactly like I want. The blue is sharp and contrasts very well with the gray, while at the same time, I believe that if I got the lighting right and got him in the dark, he would look good. Like if I took a low light picture with a light that just kind of came from the bottom, maybe shining up, and kind of did a highlight where I turn my ISO to the point where it basically, just takes the pictures of the areas that get lit. If I did that right, I feel like he would really, really work. I feel like he's a solid piece. Look, we also have to give it to him, okay? DC Universe, McFarlane Toys, managed to keep their figures at $20. I mean, yeah? Look, he only cost me $20. That was it. That's pretty good right now for the way things are going. And I don't think I've seen these really reach over $30. Even in a couple of areas where I've gone and I've seen them for like 25, 24, 26. I haven't seen them go over 30. Not yet. Not yet. Special characters. but that's not fair. Giant Clayface is not fair. We're not discussing the same pay scales at that point. That's a different argument altogether. These guys maintain their price point very well. I like him. I like him a lot. Is he the best Batman on the shelf? What Batmans are currently on the shelf? Let's finish that video with that. So this will take us on a bit of a tour of the superhero DC shelf area right here. Now, right back there, we have the Christian Bale Batman, which I talked about his leg problem. I have a leg problem, but otherwise, he's a very solid Batman. I have back there an Arkham Knight Batman. I believe he's Arkham City Batman, if I'm not mistaken. And no, that is Arkham Knight Batman. That's the Arkham Knight version of Batman. That's what I picked him up. That was the line that I got him from. He's okay. I actually don't care for that Batman that's sitting back there much at all. I have over here my 3 Batmans that I currently like on the shelf. I have a first appearance Batman, which I like quite a bit just because he's first appearance. I have a new 52 Batman, which I think is really good, and he's from the same line of figures that produced that Superman, and so I kind of tend to really like those figures. I can't remember what line that is off the top of my head. And then this guy has been my favorite Batman on the shelf for a long time. I just think he's really solid. But the only thing I don't like about him is that he's short. He's like legit short compared to my other Batman figures. Like, in fact, here in this lineup right here, you could tell he's short. He's literally, if I get this pointed right, you could tell he's the shortest of them, of the 3 Batmans that are currently on the shelf. And then that takes us down to this Batman, who's kind of on the shelf, but he's really there to pilot the Batwing, just like the other Batman will be here to drive the Batmobile. The Superpowers Batmans are not major display pieces. They're something from my childhood that I adore and like, and that's the reason they're there. And I guess if we're being fair, sorry about that, if we're being fair, this Batman is also on the shelf. He's a first appearance Pop. He's fine. I don't care for Pops. Oh, and lastly, I do have an Adam West Batman on the shelf, but you know why he's here. First off, that's my favorite Batmobile. Massive kudos. I love that Batmobile. And to put anything further on that concept, he's a Lego, so he's not even in the running for Best Batman on the shelf. So that takes us all the way back down to the display table, where we currently have our Batman and Catwoman. They look good together. They really do. Look at that. They're solid. I like that quite a bit, actually. Very nice. And you can see when I'm just playing with shadows, kind of moving around where the light is. I'm not talking about him, just her. Look at that shadowing on her. That works really well. So then we're moving into this, and the camera's going to start getting her right here, and it's going to change the way the lighting works. Then we're going to move over here, and I'm kind of blocking. You see how the shadows really play off that paint job? That is really solid. Like right there, look at that. Look at all that darkness that comes around her back and whatnot. That's solid. And I believe that I'm getting the same effect partially with him. He's under more lighting, actually, because of the way I have one major light that's behind me, and it's on the left. So he's kind of getting hit with the light. But you see how that shadow is coming across on the gray there? I think that if you did it right, look at that. See how I'm shadowing him? I think that this Batman could take great pictures. That shadowing works real well. See how it brought that chest out? And really like look at his pecs and everything. Look at the muscles and everything. Look at his abs, how they all kind of lit up when I kind of shadowed him. And then I shadowed the back of that cape, and now I'll let the light hit him again. So look, this guy is really solid. So at $20, he is, if you asked me, the best Batman on the shelf. Personally, of the couple Batman figures that I currently have that have survived the test of time that I liked enough to keep on the shelf, he's the best. He's easily the star attraction of the Batmans now. This is it for me, man. This is, I hate this term, but I'm going to use it. This is my Batman. Like, it just is. And I've talked at length now about why this Batman was important to me, why I felt that this was the last major era where the writers actually understood him, where they got him right, where they knew what Batman was and how Batman was meant to work. They told stories that were absolutely timeless and pushed the boundaries of superhero comics because they understood what Batman is, how he works, and why he works. Let's be honest about it. Even in comics like The Dark Knight, does Batman beat Superman? No. Realistically, no, he doesn't. There's a lot of planning and tricks and even a fake out of his own death in order to get the edge at the end. In reality, if that fight were to come to absolute blows and Superman wanted him dead, he's dead. And he knows that. He knows that. But that's part of the amazing property that makes the Batman what he is he fought that fight, and he fought it to an absolute standstill for longer than any human man would have ever been expected to do so, and then laid down a final blow, which could have been a death blow if he really wanted it to, and then tells Superman straight to his face, "Look, man, a man beat you. I beat you." Did he win that fight? Yes. Circumstantially? Yes. If it was actual death match and Superman wanted that crap over, Batman would have never had a chance. But that's the beauty of Batman, is that planning, knowing what he was walking into, facing it, finding a way around it. That's beautiful. Those are the Batman stories that stand the test of time because he's just a man. Just a man is infinitely more interesting than Super Batman. Super cliche, because I'm Batman, I could do everything all the time for every reason. I could survive things that I shouldn't be able to survive. Batman, cliche Batman. I hate that Batman. I can't stand him. I wish they'd stop writing him. I really do. And my real problem with Batman started, like, my biggest current run of Batman started with Rebirth. Like, I hate what he's become. I hate what he's become. It's not for me to read the way that I used to anymore. I've read a couple of stories, mind you, that I've picked up the graphic novels and I've read through them and I've said, that's damn good Batman. They can still do it. But tied in to the rest of all Batman stuff is this running cliche of this superhuman that cannot fail and can do no wrong and can survive and is led by plot armor in a way that just he never was before. And maybe I'm a little bit delusional. Maybe I'm creating something in the past. My Batman was the best Batman because I'm old now. I don't think I am, though. I really think that some of my points are justified if you look at comics where he is and where he was. I feel like I'm not being too ridiculous here, but all of that, all of my personal reasoning and my personal interaction, my personal feelings towards the Batman makes me really appreciate this Batman, both for the truth in how he looks here, his build, his size, his movement. I even kind of like the fact that the cape is going to give me troubles, but it's solid and like it's always going to be cool looking, right? It's always going to be cool looking. It's never going to look like ridiculous where it's a soft goods or whatever and it just doesn't quite look right. The boots, the articulation and everything like that, everything about him, his muscles, this is a solid Batman. This is an unbelievably solid Batman. If you are on the fence about this Batman and you have anything close to the feeling that I have about Batman, where he is, where you want him to be, what you grew up with, and the Batman that simply was the GOAT, this Batman was the GOAT. And this figure at $20 is probably the best Batman currently that you can get your hands on. I said at $20 because I know that there are other Batmans like Mafex, which you may be able to very well look me in the face and go, Bill, just spend the money, man. Just spend the money and get the best Batman figure you can possibly put on your shelf and be done with it. And hey, you got a point. You got a point. But as it stands, in just my personal collection, in the stuff that I have on hand, that's the best Batman on my shelf right now. Later on, guys.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.